Welcome on in, sports gamers. I am Brandon Satterwhite, lead writer here at Sports Gamers Online. I'm joined by the man, Curtis Russell, the senior editor here at Sports Gamers Online. We're coming to you with a big-time breaking news story. It was rumored over the weekend and confirmed yesterday by EA. They have agreed to a buyout, and the full details, they will be bought out for $55 billion by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, Affinity Partners, and Silver Lake private equity groups. It is reported to be the largest leveraged buyout in Wall Street history. It is projected to be completed within the first quarter of fiscal year 2027. And reportedly, CEO Andrew Wilson is confirmed to remain in his role once the deal is done.
Yeah.
Curtis, just basic, before we get into like how this affects EA and the games industry and all that, just initial thoughts on just that right there.
I think when it first popped up and I first saw it, I was like, oh, okay, so they're moving to a more of a private company, a private group, and that means they don't have to rely so much on investors and things like that. That was kind of the main driving force for microtransactions, things like that. But then when you start reading, as you were saying, some of the more details and stuff like that into it, Andrew Wilson is staying. The company, and I think you'll bring it up here soon, the company is going to end up going into like $20 billion in debt. So yeah, initially it was like, okay, this is nice. Then you start reading more into it and it's like, wait, this might not be exactly what we think is going on here. And I know we're Sports Gamers Online, but I think this doesn't just affect our Madden and our FIFA and our NHL. This is going to affect like Mass Effect. This is going to affect the Dead Space franchise, if there is one at this point. It's going to affect Dragon Age, a lot of games moving forward. So those are my initial thoughts when I first saw it.
Yeah, and this is something that's sort of been rumored about, I guess, for a couple of years now, that EA and the shareholders were kind of looking to take it private or for a buyout. I remember last year there was a big rumor about it that was eventually debunked about it. But yeah, like you were saying, as part of that $55 billion, $20 billion is debt that these three groups are taking out in order to make this purchase. Now, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, they've been throwing money kind of all over the place, especially in the sports realm. If you've been watching a lot of the stuff that's been going on, there's all sorts of sports connections now to Saudi Arabia. Affinity Partners, it's most famous because it's run by President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And then Silver Lake, they've been in the news recently because they're trying to currently buy TikTok. And then apparently they were also famous for having bought out Skype back in 2009 and Dell in 2013.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are like big money people. These aren't people that will just throw money around haphazardly, And
True.
What I find most interesting, on top of the $20 million of debt that these three groups are taking on in order to make this purchase, before this was announced on Friday, EA's valuation was around like $42 billion. And so they're buying it for $13 billion more than the previous value. When you're doing that, combined with $20 billion of debt, that is incredibly risky, especially at a time where the gaming industry is not growing, and according to some financial analysts, the industry is actually somewhat shrinking at the moment. And you're buying a company whose revenue has not grown in the last few years. It's been pretty stagnant, according to Wall Street analysts. What are these three groups seeing that we aren't? That's sort of the question that I'm asking right now.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions you got to ask, is because if EA over the last couple of years, you mentioned that like there's been a few rumors going around that they could be bought out. Well, now it's happening, and it's happening in this way. What do they know that we don't know, right? Electronic Arts, if you guys have been following me for the last 9 years, me covering video games, I have crushed this company at every corner. Because they deserved it, the Star Wars loot box debacle, a lot of the things they put into FIFA, the Anthem situation, the Battlefield situation. I think it's coming. This particular situation is coming at a really weird time because they just dropped everything that's going on with Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 looks great. I played the beta. It's great. They dropped this amazing trailer. You're thinking, okay, maybe is EA kind of turning the corner here? And then they drop this. You're $20 billion in debt. It's going to be massive microtransactions. Well, very egregious, very more like aggressive style microtransactions. And then also we could get a situation where a lot of people lose their jobs due to AI and things like that and cost cutting. It just seems like a really weird situation, Brandon. A really weird situation that's already a weird situation in the gaming industry where we have a lot of cost cutting, a lot of employees at BioWare, which is an EA brand. They're getting worried. A lot of the I think we got that from Insider Gaming. A lot of the employees there are very worried about their jobs. So it's very scary. I don't know what you think overall of what's going on.
So it's weird because the only, like, I guess, parallel or similar situation that we can really draw and compare this to, I think, is the Activision Blizzard acquisition by Microsoft from last year. And when that first happened, I was very optimistic because of a lot of the controversies and the scandals that Activision Blizzard had gone through. And I kind of bought into a lot of what Phil Spencer at the time had been saying, you know, about Xbox and what their goals were with the acquisition. And then once it happened and Redfall flopped and Starfield flopped, then we saw things go downhill. We saw a lot of people getting laid off. We saw the studios that weren't producing get shut down. We saw some studios that were producing get shut down. And so I guess we can just kind of talk about, like, how the question is, like, how will this affect EA? How will this affect their studios? And how will this affect their games that they're working on? And there's so many different things that fall out. One, from them no longer being publicly traded at all. So there's just, you know, some things that go on with that. So for one, we won't get earnings calls from them anymore. And for you and me, Curtis, that sort of affects us because we report on this stuff and we get a lot of information from those earnings calls. You know, we get information about, you know, here's what we're about to put out. Here's how it's doing. Here's what we expect. Here's what we just put out. Here's how it performed and all that. And so we won't get any of that anymore, which I think is going to be really interesting, especially for the sports gaming industry. And then, like you were talking about, when something like this happens and you have, you know, so much debt you have to make up, you really only have two options: either increase your revenue or cut your costs. And the easiest thing to do is to cut costs, and that's laying off people, reorganizing, shutting down studios, or selling studios off, which is something that EA had reportedly been looking to do with some of their smaller studios as well. Hopefully, I would prefer that, just so these studios, you know, can maybe go somewhere else and maybe continue to make games. But I don't know, it's crazy to think about where all of the studios that EA owns could be heading within the next year or so.
It is terrifying. I definitely think, of course, Madden, EAFC, NHL. I think although a lot of sports games will remain around, I am very scared for. I think Dead Space is done. There was a remake there. It looks like we are not getting a second remake there at all. That was already on thin ice. What is going to go on with Mass Effect? I think the Battlefield 6 won't be as much affected. But yeah, what is the future of some of those? What is the future of your EA originals? Unraveled, Split Fiction, those really, really good games, those like high caliber, could possibly be game of the year games. What is going to go on with that studio? And I think those are the things that really worry me a lot. Of course, the earnings calls, stuff like that. But those, I just don't want to see some of these studios that are supposed to be making really great games, and especially made great games into that, like the 2010s. Those ultimately going to fall from the wayside. So it's a very interesting thing. I want to sit back and watch. And of course, people don't like the human aspect of like getting sold to a Saudi Arabian company. But I think, Brandon, ultimately we do got to kind of sit back and see what happens and we'll react as it goes on. But I just hope that there isn't too much cost cutting. Also.
Yeah, and you talked about Saudi Arabia and the Public Investment Fund. So apparently they already owned about 10% of EA prior to this.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
And a lot of people were talking about, well, with the sports games, in Saudi Arabia, gambling is completely illegal. And so a lot of people were speculating, okay, would they, sort of remove the gambling microtransaction loot boxes from some of these games? I do not expect that to happen at all. When you've got to make up $20 billion in debt, morals kind of go out the window a bit when that happens.
No, completely. And I have not checked out your NHL review just yet. I'm getting around to that, but in EAFC, it looks like clubs could possibly be getting more like microtransactions put into it, maybe even more pay to win type microtransactions. That's kind of scaring me. But like when this came out, I was like, oh my God, you can almost say, yes, this is going to happen. They're going to put more money into different modes for you to pay and make your player better. So it's very, very scary. Very scary.
Yeah. And then I think you also mentioned there was an article that came out today that the new owners of EA would look to use AI to sort of help make up for some of the cost. And that's something, taking it back to the Activision Blizzard deal, that we have seen from Activision within the last year in Call of Duty. We saw the AI generated art in like the rewards and player tags and stuff. So I don't think that's something any of us want to see. I mean, that's just getting rid of more jobs, getting rid of more opportunities for developers and artists to actually, have their work shown in the game. So, like, I feel like we're very like doom and gloom, but it's because like we've seen this play out recently with Activision Blizzard, and it's like there's not a whole lot of reason to suspect like, oh, this means Madden's gonna suddenly turn it around and be this great game. It's like, no, it's probably going to be the opposite.
Yeah, and it's also this company. It's this company. It's a company that I think probably since 2014 has just made all the wrong decisions. Just made all the wrong decisions. And it's like now they're getting bought out by this, and now it's like now they're going to be in debt. And it's like the only thing I can compare this to is like, you guys know I'm a footy fan. United put themselves in $600 million in debt in 2006. Now they're in $1 billion of debt because it accumulated so much interest. That has destroyed the club immensely. That I can just see that being the way with the gaming industry. It's like, it's just going to get more money. You're going to be throwing more money in it. We're already paying what? I mean, Mario Kart went for $80.
Yeah.
It's not an $80 game. I mean, I played it. I love my Switch. I played it. It ain't.
You were so excited when you got that Switch too.
I still love it. But I rarely play Mario Kart. I just play Legend of Zelda. But yeah, it's just gonna get more expensive from here, you guys, and hopefully it gets better. But yeah, we're not that optimistic at the moment.
Yeah, and you said, talking about EA, that they've made a lot of the wrong decisions. In terms of like satisfying their customers, yes. In terms of public opinion, yes. I think one of the reasons that these investors wanted to buy EA is because from a business standpoint, they've made the business decisions. And I think that's why you're going to see, Andrew Wilson and the other C-suite executives stay on, is because they want to take what EA has done in the past and sort of crank it up to 11.
Yeah.
And try to just see how much they can squeeze out of gamers, is what it feels like. And I hope that's not what happens.
I'm gonna keep my true opinions about Andrew Wilson. I'm just gonna go upstairs and yell it because I'm holding it in right now. I feel like Strauss Zelnick, Andrew Wilson, EA 2K, I have such strong opinions about them because they've made such really like you're saying, the business decisions that are anti-consumer. So I'm going to keep that to myself. I don't want us to not get the next Madden Madden code or anything like that. I feel like that affected me in past games. But yeah, I don't know how he's staying in the job. I really don't. I think the things that have been under his control have been abysmal, especially with the Anthem situation and BioWare. I mean, that's a very beloved company, but you ended up kind of, once it got on fire, you try to scramble, make something else happen, and yeah, it just really didn't work out for them.
Yeah, and BioWare is the one studio for EA that everyone's kind of talking about being in the crossfire if cost cutting does come down the pipeline. I mean, with Mass Effect Andromeda, and then Anthem, and then Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which they said definitely performed below what EA was expecting. Things aren't looking good for that studio. And I know they're in the process of making another Mass Effect game, and in that article from Insider Gaming today, they said they're going to keep working on it until EA basically tells them not to. And I don't know, all you can really hope for at this point is maybe they get it out before this deal really finalizes and before changes start getting made.
Yeah, so let's continue to work on this game so much, put in all these hours, not really knowing if we're going to finish it. So you're just putting all that pressure on the developers. Look, we can go about this all day long, especially when it comes to Electronic Arts, because it is just a mess. It is a mess.
It is. But I think that's where we will leave it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am Brandon Satterwhite. You can find me on Twitter at bsatterwhite18. Curtis, go ahead and plug yourself real quick.
Yeah. My name is Curtis Russell, of course, senior editor at Sports Gamers Online. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it, at Cali from the Dojo. You can also check out the Soul Dojo, where I did my first impressions on EAFC 26. Should you buy it? Should you not? Should you just wait for a sale? So yeah, it's a good time. I was gonna say it's a good time for video games. It is. The month of October is good, but yeah, a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah. This is a great thing to happen right before Battlefield releases. Certainly it's going to get everybody excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It'll be a good first, 6 months for the game before, this deal finalizes. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. And for all your sports gaming news and updates, stay tuned to Sports Gamers Online. I'm Brandon Satterwhite with SGO. Thank you for watching.
Peace.